we got here? Where do we leave off? So we left over in the middle of a sugya. On the bottom, right? We got to the bottom
of is that where we are? That's 2 lines from the bottom?
Yeah. So we've been talking about an oral, right? We're going through the whole study of what an oral is allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do. So an oral is not allowed to eat the korban pesach, an oral is not allowed to eat truma. We were trying to compare the two. So basically what we had said, that we had the word boy. The word boy tells us that we can darshan it, right? So now the Gemara is going to go through different times. It says by Pesach, by the korban Pesach, and what do we darshan it for? Right? So we start with Hashad Amrit by Lidrasha Hudasa. Now that we said the word boy comes to darshan it, so called Ben Nechar. Second line up at the bottom, Ayin of base. So Hashad Amrit by Lidrasha Hudasa. Now that we said that the word boy comes to say a drasha, called Ben Nechar, La Yocha by Lam, at least. And why does the pasuk have to say, and by korban pesach, a ben nechar, right, a son of a stranger? That's a literal translation. Lo yochal, I can't eat it, right? So why does it say lo yochal boy? Why does it just say lo yochal? Right. So what's the boy coming to tell us? Boy, on Tomen Aleph now, hamaras das poiselas. What's coming to teach us that somebody who is a mummer, what we call a mummer, meaning he's not apikores, so he's possible from eating the korban pesach. But somebody who is a mummer is not possible from eating maaser, and he's also not possible from eating truma. Right? Tois is the second tois on the daf, says it means truma also. So a mummer is possible from eating the korban pesach. But he's allowed to eat maaser, he's allowed to eat truma. Kol Aral lo yochel b'olam. So what about? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So he's not chayiv that he didn't eat the korban pesach. It was also for him. So he wasn't over anything.
I didn't think about that. Why shouldn't he be over?
Because it's all you're telling him it's also for him to eat. So what's he supposed to do?
But it's also him to be an apikores too.
Well, that's true, but he decided to be an apikores. But he wanted to go on a Pesach program anyway.
I don't know. Does that make you an apikores?
Loose definition. Loose definition.
I hear. Depends which program. That's what you to say. My program is an Erlicha program, right? Isn't that where it goes? I don't know, Taka. I don't know. I didn't think about that.
But see, ironically, the Samaritans still bring the korban pesach.
Huh?
That's what they're famous for.
Are those guys? What are they?
I don't know if they're still Jewish, if they still have lineage, but they were at some point the break off, and they only kept Teresh B'Tzav.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe that's I was saying that doesn't work for them anyways.
But for Karen, they're makbid even to this day to bring the korban pesach.
I hear you. Okay, so they're meaning they're puzzle anyways. So what does it do? Nothing. I hear. Okay, but anyways, so that's one. So a mummer is potter from korban pesach. He's chayv in the other. I don't know if he's chayv and not doing it. I would think he would be, but I don't know. Okay, so kol aral lo yochel by lamali. What about kol aral lo yochel by? What is that pasuk? What's the boy for? Boy eno oichel aval oichel hu b'matzum marror. He's not allowed to eat the korban pesach, but he is allowed to eat matza marror. Right?
So,
no, this is talking about. Now we're back to Now we're back to an Aral. An Aral is allowed to eat matza and marror. He just can't eat the korban pesach. We eat matza and marror, right? Yeah. So v'yitzrich lemichtav Aral, v'yitzrich lemichtav kol ben necher. It needed to write Aral, yeah, and it also needed to write kol ben necher and ben necher. Why? Because of Rahman Aral, if the Torah would say that an Aral shouldn't eat mishum demais, because it's disgusting, right? If somebody has an Aral, that's considered disgusting. So therefore, he can't eat. Aval ben nechar the loimais, but somebody who's an apikores, he doesn't have anything disgusting on him. So maybe he would not be excluded. Because the Rahman called ben nechar, would have said called ben nechar mishum de ein liba l'shamayim. That's because he's not erlich. So if he's not erlich, how could he be eating? His heart is not in the right place to shemayim. So how could he eat the korban pesach? Aral to leave the shemayim, and Aral, whose heart is to shemayim, like we said yesterday. According to Rashi, he only didn't have a bris because his brothers died. So you would think that maybe he wouldn't be excluded. So that's what we need to say, that both of them, both an Aral and an apikores, are allowed to partake in the korban pesach. Okay, so then the Gemara says, ממנו, which is similar, from it, right? So it's similar to the word by. So why does it say there, by? So look at the Rabbah, meaning why? What is it coming to include or exclude? Look at the Rabbah Amar Yitzchak. So that's like Rabbah Amar Yitzchak, which is coming up, and Daf Ayin Dalet Amar Aleph is exactly. There's 3 menos actually. Here the Gemara is only asking about 2. There's 3 menos, and Rab Nachum and Rabba B'Shem Rab Yitzchak darshans them. So that's what we say. We're going to look weiter, and that's what, and we'll know that in a few hours. Fine. So Amar Rabbi Akiva Aimer ain't it tzarich. Right again, we said that. How do you know that an Aral is potter from truma? Whatever potter is not to eat truma, because we said that we know it from korban pesach. And Rabbi Akiva had a different shot. He said, no, you don't need that. The word ish, right? What does it say? A man who's a matza, and husarua izah v'kachim layachal, right? Till it becomes tar. That's what the pasuk says. So since it says ish, so that's coming to include somebody. So the Rav is a Aral. That comes to include an Aral. That an Aral is not allowed to eat truma. So when it says ve'ema, the Rabbah says einin. Maybe what it means, it's coming to include einin. This exact same Gemara we had yesterday. Maybe it's coming to include einin. That an einin is not allowed to eat truma. So Rabbi Yosef Chanina Amar Krav B'chol Zar. It says an all zar. Zar is amarti lach v'lo yaninas. I told you that a zar is not allowed to eat truma, right? A stranger is not allowed to eat truma, but an einin is allowed to. It's the opposite. Beloy aninos, meaning aninos not that aninos cannot eat truma. Aninos is not included in the pasuk, and therefore an einin can eat truma. Right? It's a little misleading. And the pasuk is going through the list who's not allowed to eat truma. So it's saying that we're going to include an Aral and the ones that are not allowed to eat truma, but we're not including aninos. The Gemara says, maybe it means to say that we don't include an Aral. Who says that the pasuk doesn't say who it's including, who's excluding? We're deciding, right? We're deciding who the pasuk's including or excluding. So why are we including an Aral to say that an Aral can't eat truma and excluding an einin? Maybe we should include an Aral, an Aral. So the Gemara answers haksiv ish. It says ish, right? So okay, so ish doesn't tell you anything more about an Aral than it does an einin. So where do you see to exclude an einin and to include an Aral? Mistavra, so my answer Mistavra, Arelis, Havalei Rabuye, Shekain Maisim, Krusim, Bedavar and Ha'avid. Right, you guys are late. So Mechusa, maaser. So you're missing a maaser of the bris, maaser begufay, and it's a maaser in the guf, va'onish koros, and it's a punishment of koros. V'yeshloi lefnei hadibur, and the bris was before Matan Torah. Umilas scharav v'avadim ma'akeves, and the milah of one's kids and his avadim is ma'akev, right, by the korban pesach. So therefore, there's a whole lot of things going on where that is very strict if somebody who doesn't have a bris. So what it says, no, it should have included aninus because aninus also has a lot of things. And einin could happen at any time. At any time, it could happen. A bris, once you have it, you have it. And it's noig by men and women. Aninus is by both men and women. And it's not biyadoi to be misakin himself. So therefore, there's plenty things by einin to exclude. So the Gemara answers, no, there's still more things by Arla. There's more negatives by Arla that would tell us not to be part of Tshuva. All right? So that's one. Rava says, even without these, meaning without saying that Arla has a lot of extra things you can't say, because Amakra, ish. The pasuk says, ish. What's something that applies to a man and not to a woman? We say that's referring to an oral, right? Because a woman can't be an oral, only a man. So therefore, it says the pasuk ish mistama. The words ish are coming to exclude an oral, right, and not an einin. Okay, for Rabbi Akiva, high tosh v'sachar ma'av. So again, the first limud was tosh v'sachar as exera shava. Rabbi Akiva said we don't need it because we learn out ish. So what does Rabbi Akiva do with tosh v'sachar? So Rabbi Akiva, high tosh v'sachar ma'av. So Amar Rav Shmaya.
Talking about.
You go ahead.
Sorry, just talking about eating truma. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the talking? Just eating truma. Okay.
Eating truma, correct. So Amar Rav Shmaya lasuye arve mol v'gevayni mol. It comes to include an Arab that's mol and a Gevayni that's mol, right? That it's coming to tell us that they're considered like having a bris, right? So Gemara says, "V'hani molininu, are these guys considered? Meaning of these goyim, are they considered like they have a bris?" But Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, koinem is, if anybody remembers, from Kol Nidre,
right?
Right, koinem is a lashon of because the lashon of the Gemara is a little confusing. Koinem means he's making a neder, a form of a neder. Shani nene la reilim, right? It's a koinem that I'm going to be nene from people that don't have brisim. So that's not what it means. He's saying I'm making a neder if I'm going to be nene from arelim, meaning he's making a neder that he's not going to be nene from arelim. So if he says that, mutar bareli Yisrael, he's allowed to be nene from a yid who doesn't have a bris, but he's also from people that have, from goyim that happen to have a bris. So meaning, because we're saying that when a person means by nedarim, it goes with what people mean to say. So by nedarim, when he says an oral, what it means a yid and a guy, right? So meaning he meant he's going to make a neder that he's not going to benefit from a guy, right? Didn't mean from somebody who actually has what we call the foreskin. That's not what it's referring to, right? I remember I was once by the Chassidim, right? Don't they refer to the goyim as the udel, right? He's an udel. Whether I don't think they checked him before they hired him to see whether he has a bris or not, right? They just call him an udel because he's an udel. Right, till we figured out what they were saying. Who's Udal? What's his name? Oh, hey, Udal. Like,
When I say Aral,
Aral. Oh, they would call him Aral.
What about Arabs?
I guess not. Anyway,
it's the old bus chant. Aleph Bais Gimel Dalet. Very often the bus is nicht gemalet. The bus driver.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was never going to be on a bus with Chassidim. But if I take the shuttle upstate to Monroe tomorrow, maybe I'll be zoich. Anyways, so then that's not, so there it's considered that he's making a neder from not to benefit from goyim. Koinam shani nene lemulin, if he says I'm making a shavua, a neder that I'm not going to be nene from people that have lemulin, right? Not a reilim. He says for those that have a bris, so mutter b'muli of the chum, then he's mutter with goyim who are circumcised because they don't have a bris, but also about Yisrael, and he's also with Aral Yisrael because in that when he uses the word mulin, that refers to actual physical whether the guy has the foreskin or not. So clearly you see that a guy is not considered, even if he has a bris, is not considered like he has a bris, right? Ella lasuye ger shemal v'loy tovel. It's coming to include a ger who had a bris, but he didn't have tefillah. The katan shenayla kishumal, and a katan that was born that had a bris, because savar tzarich lahativ min dam bris, and he holds it up that even if somebody has a bris, you need to do a toughest dam bris. So that's what it's coming to include. Yeah.
Can somebody be Megayer without having bris milah?
Oh, so, right. So this, yes. So that's a kasha that a lot of Farshim ask. What is the Gemara saying over here? He's not a yid.
But let's say the same way, if you had two brothers that died when they got circumcised, when they were goyim, they died.
Right.
He wants to become a yid, this fellow.
I mean,
Does that rule apply for goyim?
Nobody wants to.
It's a physical mitzvah.
I understand, but the rule is. I'm just saying the rule is not. It's not by. It might only be by yidden.
So you're going to be Megayer him and kill him. That's what you're going to do.
I didn't say that, but I just said maybe the.
I'm asking you.
I don't know.
I don't know what we would do then. How can we make him a yid if he can't have a bris?
That's my question.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's if anything, most of the time, a lot of they have the Gerim have brisim already, so they need toughest dam bris. Right. Either way.
Yeah.
So
But what happened? Did we ever discuss this about the sugya of Milo? That if let's say a person wants to be a guy, but he's a transgender.
I don't think we ever discussed it. I mean, yeah.
It sounds like a good shvuas. It sounds like a good shvuas talk.
No, maybe if you want to be there, I'm not me.
Androgynous, that would be an androgynous. It's coming up tomorrow's daf or the next day's daf.
It's the same.
Well, you have to learn that, then you have to say it from the minhag's chinuch, otherwise.
Right.
I'm saying it's the same show. You can't. He needs. Do you can somebody that's physically impossible to do, even though they bet some word in that part of it, but they're physically impossible to do it. How does it work? But see, at least on androgynous, you could do it besophic.
Right.
Right here, he can't do anything.
Right. I hear. I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Did you say that?
What do you do with tattoos? Tattoos,
at least you didn't take away the muckum to get you into the you're machlokes. You're a man. We didn't.
Right.
Your status didn't change.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
See, didn't we have a shiloh? Isn't there machlokes tonight? The gabi, how you go ahead and you Megayer somebody?
What do you
mean? Didn't we have a machlokes earlier?
Yeah. It's a machlokes, but
I'm saying. So Rabbi Akiva paskins. How do we know how Rabbi Akiva paskins?
Yeah. Do you have to say?
Maybe he holds you need both, and one of them is at least partial.
Yeah,
maybe it gets you there.
L'chayra, this Gemara would answer up this kasha on the Gemara.
Right.
100%. Yeah, it would, but I don't know. Of course, we don't remember who said what, but yeah. I didn't see that as any of the tirutzim, so I'm not sure. Fine. Rebbe Eliezer l'tamei, the Gemara says Rebbe Eliezer goes with what he normally goes. The Amar ger shemav tovel. If a ger has a bris and he doesn't tovel, ger ma'al. I mean, there you go. That's what the Gemara is saying. He's a ger ma'alya, right? Because savar katan k'shenoil and mol ain't tzarich latim min dam bris. Meaning that's the cholkim. So it's mashma like what you're saying. The Rebbe Akiva holds the opposite, right? So, but Rebbe Eliezer again, Rebbe Eliezer is the one who darshans out tosh of the socher. So he also the ger shemav tovel is a ger ma'alya, right? And Mela, there's no reason to include him. Of course he's included that he could eat the korban pesach. And the katan shenayla mol ain't tzarich latim min dam bris. So then they would both be automatically included in the korban pesach. Rebbe Eliezer hi ish ma'av. So Rebbe Akiva learns it out from ish. So what does Rebbe Eliezer do with it? He just says that the Torah is just talking in the lashon b'nei adam, which is the Torah says ish. Fine. Okay. Now I'm going to ask the lamda shashayla. So we're talking about oral.
Especially when they want to darshan something to darshan.
Is there a rule?
That's the way to talk. That's the way to talk, and there's no.
When to say dibra Torah lashon b'nei adam?
Yeah, and when you make a drasha that makes 7 people chayiv misa for an extra word.
Right. Yes. I don't know. You and Naftali are asking the same question. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's so.
It only happens when Pesach Sheni and Lag B'Omer come out the same week.
Right there, and there was an eclipse.
Yeah.
I think that's.
And Bahab.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Tonight's leave.
Yes. Okay. So now the Gemara asks the lamda shashayla, right? Is a kid before the bris on the first 7 days of his life, is he considered an oral or not? Right? So by Rav Chava bar Ukva, katan oral, mahul the seicha b'shemen shel truma. A katan oral, right? Meaning he's less than 8 days old. Rashi says, can you smear him with oil of truma? Now the only reason why the Gemara is saying what about feeding him truma? Because it's too young to feed him truma. So feeding wouldn't be negaya. But we know that there's a rule called sicha kishasiya, that smearing things is like drinking.
Yeah, but the parents get the more enough.
What?
The parents get more enough. The baby's gonna be quiet.
What's the difference? The baby's getting the baby's quiet because the baby's happy.
Right.
So the baby is benefiting. The parents is just a parenthetical hana. So the baby's getting from it. But he's an oral. So is it allowed? Arelus shaloi b'zman ma'akva, is Arelus not in the proper time ma'akiv, meaning it's not yet the time to give the kid a bris. So he's not an oral, or not. So Rab Zera, Tashima, so the Gemara says, the Gemara tries to bring a little bit of it's not such a long raya, but it's of an interesting case. Tashma ainli elam milas charav b'shas asiyah b'avada b'shas nechila. Based on the wording of the psukim, right? Again, we said that somebody who has his avodim and his kids don't have a bris, he's also not allowed to bring a korban pesach. Even if he has a bris, if his kids don't have a bris and his eved doesn't have a bris, he's not allowed to. But in each pasuk, one is mashmir that it's the bris is when they have to have the bris when the korban pesach is brought, or do they have to have the bris when the korban pesach is eaten? Right? It's brought on Yud Daled in the afternoon. We missed Pesach Sheni by 2 days for this. Right? It's brought in the afternoon, and then you eat it at night. So at what point does the bris have to happen? So it says ainli elamilas charav b'shas asiyah, that the male kids have to be, the bris has to be done when the korban pesach is done, is shechted. So that's Pesach in the afternoon. Pavada b'shas achila, and avada has to have their bris at night. How do you know that you should take the halachas by this one and put it to that one, and by that one put it to this one, right? So meaning, and then they should both have the bris done earlier. Tells us the gzeira shava from Oz, right? So therefore, that tells us that they're both equal. So now, what's the case? Bishlam avadav. Where do you have a case where they got the bris on Erev Pesach in the afternoon, in between when you brought the korban Pesach and Pesach by night? How is that possible? So Eved is simple. Right? He was there. He was there by the eating, meaning he was your Eved Pesach by night. But he wasn't there when you made the korban. Going to Zavninu Beini. It's talking about where he bought himself the Eved in between bringing the korban Pesach and eating it. All right, that's fairly straightforward case. How do you have a boy who you have him b'shas achila, he has a bris, but he didn't have a bris b'shas asiyah? So what's the case? Lav dis yalid bein asiyah la'achila. Isn't it talking about? Must be she had the baby after her husband brought the korban Pesach. Now it's a busy day. He brought the korban Pesach, comes home, his wife says, we got to go have a baby. She has a baby. All right, so then the baby was not around to the asiyah, but now he's alive for the achila of the korban Pesach and he doesn't have a bris. So what do you see? Clearly, he's considered an Aral. Right? If we say that he's not an Aral because he's not an Aral till the 8th day, so then that this case, you don't have a case either of a baby. But again, the Gemara Shaila is a baby less than 8 days old considered an Aral. So we're saying the scenario here is where the baby's born after he brought his korban pesach, but before Pesach by night. Right? So that's where you have a baby boy who doesn't have a bris yet, but it was not a problem when you brought the korban pesach. That's because he wasn't in the world, right? So that means that he's an Aral.
All the people who have babies the whole week before Pesach are part from korban pesach.
Right. So that's what you would think.
It's a pretty big chiddush.
Well, no. So no, the reason why the Gemara because why doesn't the Gemara just ask from that?
Well, if that's what you're saying, shut then, yeah.
Right. So the Gemara here is just looking for a scenario where he would be around by a siyah, not by, but enochanami. If you go with that tzad, yes, then anybody who has a kid within a week of Pesach would not be able to bring the korban pesach.
This isn't even bigger chiddush though. This chiddush is saying that you could have shechted the korban pesach and been
this is a bigger chiddush,
which is a real shver. To say you could shecht, but you can't touch it.
Right. There's a bigger chiddush that the kid wasn't around by the shechita.
Parents can't eat the korban pesach?
A father's not allowed to korban pesach. He has a kid that doesn't have a bris. Right? So the Gemara is trying to bring a proof.
Not eating the korban pesach.
I know, that's what I'm trying to understand. I think
Naftali's baby might end up eating korban pesach. He might squeeze the meat into his mouth or something.
Be nervous and missing a year.
That's what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying that it's proving that it's the baby's considered an Aral. So if your kid is an Aral,
they didn't go complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and get.
So and that's what Rabban is saying. The same thing as you. Meaning it can't be.
That's twice.
Can't be. Yes, twice in a night. Can't be that anybody that had a baby within a week of Pesach is potter from korban pesach, right? So let's see. So let's see the Gemara.
Not shy yet. They're not roy for it.
But that's the shot. That is exactly the shot. Does it mean that he doesn't have a bris, or does it mean that you have to only not have a bris once you're in the parsha of a bris, meaning from the 8th day on?
Those are knas on the parents with the truma to use it for such a baby.
Yeah, that's the thing about sure. Yeah.
What?
So Amar Rabba.
What are you saying?
Saying for truma too, they wouldn't. Truma. Instead of a kid, you could have a kid. If you have a kid without a bris, the parents could still eat truma.
No, the parents, the kid
maybe the first week.
He's a new baby. He's not eating anything.
Maybe the first week since there's no. Maybe the first week since there's no chiv on the bris, so therefore it doesn't pop it. Therefore it doesn't make it there.
Well, that's the other side. That he's not an Aral. He's wasn't.
He's not. Yeah, he's not chayv in the bris. That's it.
Right. So that's mamish the tut stadim in the shiloh. That's mamish the tut stadim in the shiloh. Yeah. Right, so very good. So Amar Rava, Rava said, he says not a raya, but tizbara, right? Right? Meaning the Torah says, right, that you have to, it says that you have to make sure that you have all your males lined up and have a bris by the korban, in order to eat the korban pesach. But az yikrav la soisai, right? And then you can go close to bringing the korban pesach, right? Which sounds like only you have to first give your kids a bris, mashma. They have to be chayiv in the bris, right? Meaning the pasuk sounds like himal lo kol zachar. Give a bris to every male, which is when after the 8th day, and oz yikra says then you could come bring the korban pesach. Right, that's mashma. Only when the kid, it's only an issue that you have to make sure your kids are all gemalit, all they have a bris. If it's the 8th day, but if it's before that, they're not. Bar mehila. This kid less than 8 days is not a bar mehila. Right. So basically, Rav is saying what the Olam is saying. He's saying it can't be that's pshat. So what is Elahogma Eskina going shechaltzasei chama? What are we talking about? What would be a case where a kid was not chayiv in a bris when they brought the korban pesach, but was chayiv in a bris by the night? It's talking about where he had fever. that he had, it was grabbed, the fever left him, right? From the word chalitza, meaning he got better. So he got better when, in the afternoon, the kid had fever, and it left the afternoon after the korban pesach was already brought, before it was eaten. And now you have to give him a bris. So if you didn't give him a bris, you're not allowed to eat the korban pesach. So then the Gemara says, like kol shiva, right? But you have to wait 7 days. Right? Aaron Kaplan, this is your we got to get your father on for this part of this year, right? That's, you've got to wait 7 days. As we all know, a baby that's sick, you wait 7 days till you do the bris. So that can't be the case. The more answers, no, the Avinu like kol shiva, no, it's Homa. Well, you gave him 7 days, which means that on Zion Nisan in the afternoon, the kid got better. You went to the doctor, Zion Nisan in the afternoon. The doctor passed the kid's better. Okay, so you wait 7 days. That 7 days fell out after he was makriv the korban pesach before the night. And if he doesn't get that bris done by the night, he's not allowed to eat the korban pesach.
That 7 days is meis leis.
Oh, so very good. That's the next kasha. So if you got better on Zion, so then give him a bris erev pesach in the morning, and then you don't need to see him. The Gemara doesn't say that part. You don't need to see him then, right? You do a bris and erev pesach in the morning. You don't need to see him, right? So that's the 7th day. You want to? Our answer is binan on Talmud base now. Binan meis leis. No, when a baby is sick, you need to wait a full 7 days, right? Just as Akadam, I think it's pretty obvious to most, but sometimes we need to refresh it, right? When on the 8th day, you give a baby a bris on the 8th day, a lot of time, most of the time, that baby, not most, but a large amount of the time, that baby is not 7 days old, right? You have a baby tonight, just now, you have a baby an hour before Shkia, what's today, Tuesday? So the bris is next Tuesday morning. It's not even close to a week old, right? Because we say mitzvah yom kekula, and once you're into the 8th day, so then that's it, right? But for a baby being healthy, you need to wait a full 7. That's what the Gemara is saying now. So you'd have to theoretically.
That's very interesting, because the Gemara is medame the whole din of waiting 7 days for the fever to have gone down to waiting for 8 days of bris milah. But if you're waiting meis leis, there's no comparison. Why choose that? Then it's just an arbitrary number that we're saying is 7 or 8 days. What shaykh is to the milah? The meal is not meis leis.
No, it's
so why should this
you're
be?
Right. That's other one. You're
so
right.
I'm saying, so is this a scientific thing that came up with? The Gemara just before said it's because but the Gemara just before said it's because we wait the same way we wait mitzad the mila, we're waiting mitzad the fever breaking. It's not medom at all. It just happens to be the number is the same. It's not at all the same, really. What did the Gemara mean before that we wait the same type? It's not
so
all medom.
Correct. That's going to be really the next sheet in the Gemara. Let's see that, because the Gemara is going to bring that sheet about Tani.
When you have a baby that's sick, you wait 7 days.
Yes.
So you get the report from the doctor at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Then you got to do the bris 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A week later.
That's not what your uncle did with me.
Because you it depends what it was.
Okay.
What did he do?
We did the bris in the morning. We didn't get the report until the afternoon. Then he said you have to wait 7 days.
Right.
I didn't wait till the afternoon on the 7th day.
You probably waited. It was probably 7 days, probably over the day before that.
Once we got the report,
I don't know. Depends what time of the day you got the report. So, okay, there's a lot of variables. Okay, but anyways,
Liner, do it again then.
Yeah. But Tani Luda said, "Yom Havrasa Kiyam."
Darius, why are you gonna go there for? He's gonna do it again. What are you gonna do there for?
That's your father's business.
Mama should ask.
Is that the halacha?
Wow.
What?
If it was too early, we need a toughest on bris, or it's a good meal anyway.
Yes.
It would.
You would need a toughest if it's too early. I mean, in this case, it would be considered too early.
Case.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They play shtick with it. They decide, the doctor said that he's better, but we say, okay, he's really not better till tomorrow. That's why, when the bris is late, like a couple of months late because the baby's not well. So what?
It's always on a Sunday.
Correct. You go to the doctor Sunday 9 o'clock a.m. You go to the doctor. The kid's fine and is on the beach playing ball for a week, and for 3 days you wait till Sunday morning 9 o'clock. The doctor paskins the baby's healthy. Now we have a 9 a.m. bris the next week. Okay, shine. I'm saying that's
the other way around. That's delaying it. I'm asking if it's early.
I understand, but that's what they say. It's not. They're going to say it's not really early. The baby really was better. Whatever. Yeah,
why
what
do we
are you
wait
saying?
7 days?
Now, my cousin had a baby that I don't remember exactly if he was a little yellow or whatever it was. So it was a summer taka. So he made the bris by 8 o'clock by the mincha minyan, at 8 o'clock at night instead of 8 o'clock in the morning. It was a whole half day more. So that he was he was Kanara perfect. I'm now Baruch Hashem, he's a Zaidi, this little baby. But and mamash again half a day.
Right. It can make a difference. What are you saying, Zach?
No, why by yellow? When a baby's yellow, we don't wait 7 days.
Oh, because we're going to see that in a few lines in the Gemara. We'll get to that in a few lines in the Gemara. Okay, so Vatani Luda said, the day he gets better is the day he was born, which is what Akiva was just saying. My love, what does he mean? It's just like the day it's born. You don't need ace, by the way, means from literally from time to time, meaning a full 7 days. So also the day that from when it's better, you don't need meisleis. So it says no, loy. It's not true. The day of getting better is more important than Yom Yivaldi. From birth, you don't need meisleis. But the day it gets better, you need meisleis. Right? Yeah. So that's.
So then, what does Luda mean?
What?
So what do they mean? Yom Rasa Ki Yom Yivaldi? They're not comparable at all.
So it means.
Isn't that a brisa?
Yeah. So it means.
You need to wait 7 days.
That's you got it right. That's 7 days. You're waiting 7 days. That's it. Meaning it's comparable. It's not comparable. They're the same that you wait 7 days, but they're not the same that one needs meis leis and one does not. Yeah, fine. Rav Papa Amar going to Kav, and Rav Papa has a different teretz. Again, we're trying to figure out when a kid would be chayiv in Mila after the korban pesach was brought and the eating of it. So in those few hours from Erev Pesach afternoon till Pesach by night. So Rav Papa Amar going to Kav le'enev le'yanuka. The eyes were in pain. I don't know how you know the baby's eyes were in pain, but whatever, it had something wrong with the eyes. And it got better in between. So therefore, that you don't have to wait a week. So that's a shot. It's only chayli kol aguf that you have to wait a week. If the baby stam has some sort of ailment, then you don't have to wait a week. That's why there's all these shilas. You have Machlokes in between what the modern doctors say is considered a chayli of the whole guf and what's not a chayli of the whole guf. Some say no, it's just an issue particular to that. So the yellow is not considered chayli kol aguf. It's just waiting for the whole body.
What's considered chayli kol aguf?
So a fever might just, a high fever would be chayli kol aguf, as far as I know. Things wrong with the heart could be. I know there's different things. But then of course you always have these fights between the rabbanim and the moyalim and the doctors, right? And that's when it gets freilich. Yes.
I overheard one of these fights. The baby was seriously tongue-tied and couldn't latch on to anything. No bottle, no nothing. Had to be IV in the NICU. And one of the rabbanim said, it's not a chayli at all. It just has to be there. You should do the bris in the NICU.
Right.
The doctor says, I you crazy?
Yeah.
Letting you in here?
Right. No, but a lot of times it's the doctors that want to be mekel, and the halacha is that you should be machmer. Okay, either way, fine. Rava's teretz is going to show you the parents were in jail. So when they're in jail, so they couldn't do the bris, right? And then when they got out from after the korban pesach was done, obviously with a shliach.
The mother's mentioned.
Why is that something to keyboard?
Why does it say that the mother's in jail too? Doesn't matter.
Right, the mother has nothing to do with it. Very good. So the oilam back here in person is being mechamed to you. So I forgot now already what they said about why does the Gemara say the mother?
Yaakov, why don't we say no? Yaakov, what about the tzibur? Why isn't tzibur mechuyev? When does the tzibur start being mechuyev?
I don't think the tzibur is mechuyev. First of all, why don't they make a shliach?
Fine, but right, like anyone normally
Like
who
they made a
doesn't know how to
shliach
make
for
meal.
the korban pesach, so why did they make a shliach for the bris?
I'm saying, but the tzibur is never mechuyev in mila.
No,
I
it's
thought
not.
if the father refuses to do mila, it's incumbent on the
No,
tzibur.
I don't think it ever falls on the. I don't think the mila falls on the team. Pigeon Ben does. No, I think Pigeon Ben does. I don't think. What do you call it? Yeah. I don't know, but it's clearly not. So because Rashi's saying that the shliach, they get the shliach to do the korban pesach, they don't get it. There's no shliach for the bris. Either way, when they get out of jail, first thing they have to do is make a bris, right? Rav Kahana brother Rav Nechemia Amar Kagoin Tumtum Shenikra V'Nimtza Zachar Beini Ubeini. This is a real interesting case. It's talking about where he was a tumtum, which again the tumtum means that there's skin growing over the genitals, right? And mamela, we don't know what it is. And then they tore it open and look at that, it's a boy. So now they got to do a bris. And they did that right after the korban pesach was brought, before it was eaten. Fine. Something about where it stuck out its head out of the cervix, but it did not leave the body. Right? And therefore, and then it stayed like that for a week. Can you just imagine that? Right? Stay like that for a week. So once the head comes out, that's considered birth. For nida and for actual birth's sake, then the baby came out on day 7 in the afternoon of Pesach. You got to do a bris right then and there. So Gemara says, is it possible for a baby to live like that? But Tanya, since it came out into the world, niftach hasasum v'nistam apasuach. This is ashayotza, right? What happens is, like, this is one of the wonders of nature. In the uterus, in the womb, so the baby, its mouth is not taking in anything. It's in liquid actually, and it's considered like it's closed off. It doesn't kill the baby. And the stomach, the umbilical cord is where it's being fed, which is when then the opposite happens when it's born, right? So niftach in the womb, niftach hasasum. I mean, actually, when it's born, niftach hasasum, what was closed opens up. That's the mouth and the nose. And the nistam apasuach is what the umbilical cord going through the belly button is open, and then it closes up. Right? Shel malekain, if it wouldn't be for this, you wouldn't be able to live even 1 hour. This is maybe a riot to those that say afilu sha'achas in Hashayotza. Right? That's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying in Hashayotza. Right? If either one would open, or if what's supposed to be open closed and what's supposed to be closed open, we wouldn't be able to live. Right? So that's what this Gemara is referring to. Then some say at the end of Hashayotza, some say afilu sha'achas. Right, and some don't say it. So this Gemara clearly seems to say that you should say it. I mean, at least that's the gears of this Gemara. No, I do not say it. Right, but okay. So hacha. Anyways, so Gemara is saying, how could this baby possibly live with its head outside of the mother for a week?
Is it the whole head? Is it just the crown of
No, just the head. It has to be from the forehead, I think, from what I remember correct. At least the forehead, yeah. So Gemara says, now I don't know. We don't got the doctors on. I see Dr. Zakarowitz is on. There's got Dr. Corman on. I don't know. I don't know what this has to do with medical here. Where it has a fever. So since it has a fever, so what it does is a fever can keep somebody alive without food for a week, because the fever like locks in the bodily fluids, and it keps it hydrated somehow. So that's
the kid's not even 7 pounds, and you
correct. But we're saying that that it had a fever. So then what the obvious question is a shasa daman. Now, whose fever was it? If you're saying it's the baby's fever, you need another week, right? You need a week after it gets better. Meaning it had a fever for the whole week while its head was outside of the mother. So it had a fever for a whole week. That's how it survived. Good. Now it's born. The fever goes away. You got to wait another week. You don't do the bris that day. Ella, shasa. The must be the mother had a fever. Right? Or, on another wild medical thing, this is talking about where it doesn't cry. Aval, But if the baby cries, then it's going to be able to live. Yeah. So ma'avi avi from Rashi means like oy oy, like avi avi. That's the way. That's where that word comes from. So when the baby cries for whatever reason, that's gonna keep it alive. All right. So those are all the terutzim to explain a scenario when a baby is gonna be born after the korban pesach was brought, but before it was eaten, and the parents were irresponsible, didn't do a bris, and therefore the father cannot eat the korban pesach. The parents cannot eat the korban pesach because the kid does not have a bris. But otherwise, seemingly the Gemara seems to be saying that a baby less than 8 days old is not considered an Aral. Right? That seems to be the maskanas of Gemara. He's not considered an Aral because he's not yet in the chiyuv of having a bris.
See, okay. They bring down from Marsha that he's medayek from Rashi earlier that a mother would be mechuyev in Mila of the son.
But from here, it's mashma like that. Yeah, from here it's asked it. Rashi is also saying that both in a mitzvah Mila mutalas aleihem. I mean, that's
right.
From this Gemara, it's clear. That's what he's saying. Marsha says it.
Yeah, the Marsha says, he discusses what the
learned that
implications.
from Moshe Rabbeinu.
Well, because of his mother
was saved his life.
Right. Yeah. But that's how we know that maybe Nashim can do it. That's how we know women can do a bris. Not that they're necessarily chayiv. Meaning, can you have a female male without going down that road? Okay, we're not going down that road, right? Okay, fine. Next,
the women on the wall will get a lot more physical with that.
Yeah. Here, okay. So Amar Rav Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Banan. Next Claire by Aral. So not Claire. The Gemara says so. An Aral mekabel hazah. An Aral, you're meaning if somebody's tummy mace, they need to be sprinkled the efer chatas on them on the 3rd and the 7th day, right? So what happens if an Aral is allowed to have the mechata sprinkled on him? So Arav mekabel hazah, he can be mekabel hazah. Shekem etzinu v'aveseinu. We found by our aveseinu when they went in Yeshua, when they moved into Eretz Yisrael, that they were all tamei when they were conquering there. What's it called? It was a Gilgal, right? So what happened is that they got in there right before Pesach. So how were they able to be? I think they got in there on Yud, right? They got there on Yud, and how did they become tar to bring the korban Pesach by Yudalit, right? They had the bris on Yud, right? And then
Why did they have to become tar for?
Oh, that's gonna be the Gemara's kasha. Maybe it was talking about where they were fully tummy. The Gemara will ask that in a minute, but the way the Gemara is thinking now is that they got there, it's Yisrael and Yud, then they had a bris, then they had to become tar. So how is it that you need 7 days? Elamai must be that they had the efer chatas, the meichatas sprinkled on them from before they had the bris. So you see that you can sprinkle the meichatas onto somebody before he has a bris, right? So shekem vatzinu ba'beistenu shekiblu hazah kishein arelim. They were makabel hazah when they were arelim. Shenemar va'am alu min hayarden be'esel l'chaydesh harishin ba'asara. I'm sorry, I ran on there. They came up from the Yarden on the 10th of the first month, which is Nisan. They did not get a bris on the 10th. I said before they got a bris on the 10th. They didn't get the bris on the 10th, right? So hazah, when did they do the hazah? Lav kishein arelim. So it must be that the hazah started when they were arelim. So you see that an oral could get hazah. So Gemara says, well, who said they did the korban pesach, that they had to be tar by then? Maybe they didn't do the korban pesach at all. Right? Who says they did it that year? So he said, no, don't think that. And said you should bring the korban pesach in Gilbo. So clearly they did bring the korban pesach. So then Rabban's kasha, we know that the rule is that when Roiv Klai Yisrael's tamei, so that's it. So Tumah Hutra B'tziva, and everybody can bring it. So Rashi Tanya Be'ed Malu v'Tovlu v'Asu Pischain b'Tahara, because the brisim says openly they did Mila, they did Tefillah, they did the Pesach b'Tahara. So it has to be that they were tar. So the only way that it works out is if they started the sprinkling before they had their brisim. Fine. Then the Gemara just brings down some halachas about a bris. Amar Rav Bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav, like nitna priyas mila Avraham Avinu. Priya. So basically, by the bris, there's two things that go on. They cut the extra skin, and then there's another skin under there that has to be peeled back, like a thinner skin. Yeah. So, not that I ever watched too closely, but that's what it is. So by Avraham Avinu, they didn't have that. Shenema ba'esi Amar Hashem El Yeshua Aseh lecha charvas tzurim. Make yourself sharp things from rocks. That's how they gave the brisim. So B'dilma, so we want to ask B'dilma Hanaf Deloy Mol. Maybe that was only
1 second. We're saying that Avram didn't do it, but then we're giving a pasuk from Yeshua.
Yeah, because meaning that's when from Yeshua and on is when it was required. But till then,
Moshe have been his children.
But I mean, why does it say Avram? Why doesn't it say? Why doesn't it say?
No,
you answer. You answer.
Children. She took a stone right on the spot when the Malach came to kill.
Who?
Tzipora.
We're talking about. Yeah, correct. But it seems like we're saying that from this pasuk, we're saying that he had to do. It was just like a second step that they didn't have to do before they got into Eretz Yisrael. The second step of peeling back the skin. I don't know. Okay,
Right, okay.
whatever they're describing over there. We'll let Aaron Kaplan, maybe he can explain it to everybody with the bris. Okay, how come there's no diagrams? No diagrams from what's his name? No,
I was gonna say, thank God there's no pictures.
This is a type of picture Stefanski should post things like this. No,
yeah, if you want, I'm sure Tati can find you one if you want.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, we'll keep it here. So anyway, so that's what it was. So they. Based on this, it's like mashma that there was a second type of bris. So the Gemara says, who says, maybe that was only on the people that didn't have a bris. So the Gemara says, what does it mean, shuv? Right? The priya must be priya. Priya is the second stage. What are you saying?
What did you possibly just say?
Kimulim, which one? Kimulim hayu kala amma yotzim v'chala ma yilaydim.
When? Everybody, all the Yotzim Mitzrayim died.
What?
All the Yotzim Mitzrayim died. So what? They had bris milah. They all died before they went into Eretz Yisrael.
Right, but then the next part of pasuk is chala am hayilaydim. Right, that second part of pasuk says they were the ones that were born in the midbar. In the midbar. Yeah, so that's what it's referring to. All right. So yes, so that's what's saying.
Them it says loy malu.
What?
The pasuk says loy malu on them.
Then they needed a bris. No, means they didn't have a bris, so now they needed a bris.
So how do we know that say charvas tzurim is going on an extra step? Maybe it's just the milah itself.
That's what the Gemara is asking.
Oh.
That isn't that what the Gemara is at? That's what the Gemara. That is the Gemara's kasha. Saying B'dilma Hanaf the loy mol. Right? We're thinking that it was a second step that was being done. So I was asking, what do you mean? Who says? Why isn't maybe it just says do a bris for all those that never had a bris yet? Which we're going to see in a minute why they didn't have why Taka didn't they have a bris yet when they were in the midbar? We'll get to that. So the Gemara says, Imkain my shuv. What's the word shuv? Helolav lepriya must be shuv, meaning another bris means to do a second bris to do priya, which is the peeling back of that skin. Right? So Gemara says, Umashenis. Right? So what does it mean the second time? La kushe saif mila l'tchilas mila, to make a hekish between the end of the mila and the beginning of the mila. What does that mean? Ma tchilas mila ma keves. Just like the beginning of the meal, it's ma'akiv. You can't leave any extra skin there. Soif mila ma'akvin, so to the end of the meal is also ma'akvin. Ma'akvin boy is ma'akvin. The Tanan, Elohim tzitzin and ma'akvin. We had this a couple of times. What are the tzitzin, the extra pieces of skin that are ma'akiv? As a ma'akvin is tamila, that are ma'akvin the mila. Basar achayf as roiv ha'atara. It's basar that covers over the majority of the crown of the eva. Yeah. And somebody who has tzitzin and ma'akvin, that's considered as if he doesn't have a bris, and he is not allowed to eat. He's not allowed to eat true. So then the Gemara says, it doesn't mean roiv atar, it means from the height of the atar, right? Meaning it's not. Meaning, how do you understand It doesn't have to be from the first part. It's mashma that there has to be an extra piece of skin going around the entire Eber. Right now, the Gemara is saying no. It's as long as it goes up, even a little part of it, it doesn't have to go. It could be mostly cut all the way around. But if there's even one part that doesn't have it, then it goes up the majority of the height of the Eber. Then that's also considered tzitzan ha'ma'akfin, and the meal is no good. Fine. Now, why didn't they have a bris in the midbar? Over midbar, my time alay mal. Why didn't they have a bris in the midbar? Why did they wait till they got to Eretz Yisrael? So two reasons. Maybe because they were just weak. You can't. And when you're traveling, it's very difficult to have a bris. It's not a healthy thing. So maybe they didn't do it. That's one. Now I'm talking about Amid Aleph now. Because the north wind wasn't blowing. The Tanya. The 40 years Klai was in the middle. The north wind did not blow. My time. Why didn't it blow? Either because they were Nezufim. Nezufim means we had this in Yuma a lot, that Hashem is angry at Klai. So Hashem was angry at them because of the ego. So therefore, he took away this north wind that helped them out. If the wind would come, that would make the Ananiya covered go away. So they didn't want that. I can't say I understand that teretz, because let the Ananiya covered withstand the winds. Okay, but those are the two reasons why there was no wind, and that's why they didn't do a bris. Samra Papa. So what do we learn from this? Hilkach Yaimad De'iva v'Yaimad Deshusa Laimalin. On a day that there's clouds, right? And the day that the ruach, Rashi says, the shusa means the south wind, and that's the hardest wind. The south wind is the worst. You don't do a bris, and you don't take bloodletting, because then it's a sakana. But in the dashu barama nowadays, that nobody cares about this. Hashem watches the foolish. Meaning, even though we really shouldn't be doing brisim on a cloudy day, can you imagine making a bris? Timing it on whether it was cloudy or not, or which way the wind blows, right? And then you'd have to hire field goal kickers to put their finger up with the lick the thing and feel it.
Or the golfers.
You need to hire these guys. Okay, make the bris right now, right? So, but nowadays that nobody cares, so we said Shomer B'Sayim Hashem, which is the famous Ibris Moshe, that Shomer B'Sayim Hashem is only going on where it doesn't negatively affect people, right? That's just to leave off with that, right? The cigarettes. That's Ramoshe's Tshuva on the cigarettes, where he says that cigarettes are mutter because Shomer B'Sayim Hashem. And obviously they want to update that since many people have been showing that Hashem does give disease to those that are smoking. So you can no longer say Shomer B'Sayim Hashem. Meaning Shomer B'Sayim Hashem is not a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I thought it's an ignorance card, a get out of jail free card. So you're not ignorant anymore. If there's a lot of research, it's nothing to do with that.
Well,
I thought the kind against Ramesh's psak was that it has to do with ignorance. Psayim means that they're fools. You're not a fool. It's worse than a fool if you know the research and you ignore it anyways. That's not a fool. That's somebody who's being negligent.
Okay, but that you only know they're negligent because you don't even have to come.
You're negligent. Negligence is not the same thing as being a psayim.
Yeah.
If you don't know, I thought the Ramesh's psak was because people didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
The research wasn't as extensive.
Either
So
way.
we're not discussing vaccines, okay?
Anyways, okay. Tomorrow night we might have a little earlier. I hope that's okay. I don't know, because if the island goes to Mincha Meir, then it has to be earlier than that. So I don't know. I'll text it out. At
the end of this Gemara, what's Hashem doing here? According to Tzad, Hashem was the one who caused them not to have Mila. How is he getting them back? He caused them not to have Mila. Why would he do that?
He caused them not to have Mila?
They couldn't get Mila because Hashem was punishing them.
I want to go early. I want to go to first minute and get there.
Gemara says Mishum didn't see
maybe because of the wind blowing. It wasn't. It was
right.
That was indirect.
But who cares? He stopped them from getting Mila. Gemara is saying they followed halacha.
No.
So why didn't they have Mila? So the Gemara says because Hashem was paying them back. How is he rebuking them by causing them not to have Mila?
No, because that happens to be. I understood it. That's a fallout from that.
I understand that, but he wouldn't let. He was punishing them and causing them not to have Mila. Like, what does that mean?
Might have 10 p.m.
Yeah, I guess so.
And is that
Did
the
we
reason
answer
why
the
they
question?
never brought a pesach in the base
Don't
in
go there.
a korban pesach the whole 40 years?
In what?
Is that the reason why they never brought a korban pesach while they were in the Mikva? Because they were Aral?
No, there was no tzivui.
But is the reason why there was no tzivur because they were Aral? I'm saying it's circular. What's the whole reason why there was no tzivur?
What do you mean? Why did they?
Well, I am asking a little bit on the Eibishter's question why he made them Aralim. Yeah. And that's part of my question. It's built in.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm struggling with that.
It's a sure thing. It's one of the cornerstones of Judaism. And Hashem says, you know what? I'm going to force you not to be able to do it.
It's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Well.
Some of that day was filling a chalamayit.
Akiva, he was pretty ticked off at us for doing that.
I understand that, but the rebuke is a little weird. The rebuke should be like, I'm not going to let you enjoy yourself. No, he still gave them mun. He still gave them nisim neflois. Okay, so he couldn't make another nace that they didn't need it. Why do you? The mamish are like, oh, it's sakana, therefore we're not going to do it. He couldn't make a nace that they could go ahead and do bris milah, even though they were getting mun for those 40 years. He couldn't make a nace that they didn't need the sun shining through.
You're talking hypotheticals. It could be that Hashem wanted them to have this moment with the interference to Israel after. You got to think that the end is the result.
What are you saying?
Saying they wanted to have that moment right before entering Eretz Yisrael, where they maul themselves without their parents being around.
So what are you saying?
He's asking why he didn't make a miracle for them to allow them to have a bris milah. I'm saying
right.
At the end of the day, if you learn Navi, it could be that moment before they entered, that's when Hashem wanted them to do it as a call.
But it's not like if they would have entered right away, they were doing bris milah through until then, meaning until the maaser, whatever you want to learn. It's Machlokes, Tyson, and Rashi, whether it's the maaser egel or maaser meraglim. But until that moment, they were doing bris milahs. Up until that moment, the week before then, they were doing bris milahs in the midbar. So it wasn't like they had gotten to Eretz Yisrael. It was right before Eretz Yisrael. They were doing bris milahs. They were doing it up until the point.
They all had milah before they brought the korban pesach.
But there were children that were born in the midbar before the meraglim happened, before the egel happened, and they're probably doing bris milah then also.
Well,
it only stopped when Hashem punished them.
It's not. It says the Gemara says the pasuk says that the children weren't circumcised. It's a pasuk.
Yeah, because of this whole story, because they were punished.
Well, that's what Yaakov is saying. That's one.
I know that, but my point is that it wasn't that Hashem was trying to save the bris milah until they got into Eretz Yisrael.
How do you know that? How do you know that's not the reason?
Because it only stopped because Hashem punished them. That's what the Gemara says here. The Gemara doesn't say for any other reason.
Could be there was nobody born until after Matan Torah.
I don't know. That to me is more of a chiddush. Nobody was born. What does that mean?
Well, they said that after Matan Torah, they all went home and they all had children from that night. They all had sons.
I'm saying the Gemara says they only stopped being Tash and Mita 3 days before. Until that point, they were. I'm saying, and they had from before they left Mitzrayim. I'm saying, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. What did the Gemara answer about using truma oil on a baby before it's milah?
What did the Gemara answer with what?
Using the oil of truma on a baby that's before it's milah.
No, so we said, I think the maskanas Gemara was that it's not considered an oral. Right, that's what he had said, because it says, right, the second line up from the bottom, third line up from the bottom on Aral, says that he it's, what did he say again? Because it says, give your kids a bris, and then you come do the korban pesach. Right, so you give your kids a bris, and then the korban pesach means it has to be only a kid that's chayiv in a bris. right? So I'm assuming that that's the maskana, because then the Gemara goes on to right.
But it went straight into talking about abundance.
It did, but the first before that. Sometime. I think. No, I think that's what? You don't think that that's a maskana?
No, I'm saying I must have missed it. I don't see where it is. That's
You see where it is?
No.
Third line up from the bottom on Amud Aleph.
Yeah, I see the question.
Right, but that was the answer. I think that was it. Then it moved on.
Okay.
I think so. Anyways.
Thank you.
You sound a little under the weather. You all right?
Yeah, doing great. I lost my voice. I'm screaming a little bit. So.
All right. I'm sure your kids are happy about that.
It was for good things.
All right, fine. Feel good. Have a good night, Akiva, Elio, whoever else.
But Yaakov, quickly, yeah. I wanted to ask you a shadow before, but you jumped right in. I saw your halacha status today, and I was wondering, what is the circumstance where somebody could go ahead and shave midday Wednesday?
Okay, so
not that I'm asking, I'm just curious. Like, what's brought down? I told it to somebody today. He was like, "What is he talking about? Like, where's the makar?"
Lamaisa, it's a Mishnah Brura.
Okay, good. That sounds pretty basic.
He says erev. He says erev, right? Which means erev means erev. But I'll send you a picture of a.
Please, what is it negate to? Like, what's the circumstance that the person would be mutter to do that?
Reb David Feinstein got a haircut always on erev Lag BaOmer.
Why?
Because he held that that's when it's mutter. That's it. The shot is because once you stop saying tachnun, it already has a din yom tov.
That's very interesting.
That's the shot. Of course not. After mincha? Yeah.
He's saying from mincha on.
In all of Klais.
From mincha on, once we're knowing not to say tachnun. So Hasidim could have been saying for weeks now.
That's true.
If Hasidim shaves.
Yeah, that's true.
They
don't have this issue. But by the way, Hasidim don't do haircuts the whole sfira.
Some Hasidim. I've had conversations with different ones. Some of them are not makbid. Yeah, some of them are not makbid. And I'm not just talking about the tuna bagels.
Yeah. I don't know why they got the name tuna bagels. You'll have to look into the.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, Bacher.
Yeah. Anyways, all right.
I'll take a look at it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me know. Look at footnote Hay. Footnote Hay.
I wanted to go through the actual halach and then I would look at the footnote.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so good. So fine. All right.
Yeah. It's Yaakov.
Yeah.
I think it's a night to be Yehuda's.
First.
The what?
Isn't it night to be Yehuda's yard site today or tomorrow or something like that?
Could be. I don't know.
No, something like that.
I don't know. That would be interesting if it was. But if it comes, I don't think.
Do you have time later tonight?
Not really.
I'll
give you a few minutes before marror, so we have an end time.
When's marror?
Well, I got to do another phone call first, and then I'll get to you.
Okay.
Marror's at 10 after 10.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.